Welcome in, everybody, and happy 2024. Personally, want to say I hope you're all having a wonderful start to your new year, and I hope it brings you nothing but wonderful things. With the new year, we have a new Phasmophobia 2024 roadmap and beyond, and I am very particularly excited about this because we have not received a whole lot of information about the future of Phasmophobia, and we really want to see some timelines and some roadmaps of what's coming for the game. So I want to be able to take this video and dive on into it, see what they say, see what they have upcoming in the near future, and even beyond that to later parts of this year, and hopefully we can get an idea of where Phasmophobia is going. So let's get into it. All right, so here we got the Phasmophobia 2024 roadmap. I am surely not going to read everything on the screen. I'm just going to try to highlight on the main points, as you're going to be able to go and read it yourself and take it at your own pace. Let's see what we got here. First thing I want to go do is read this section here. Stepping into 2024 means new beginnings and new roadmaps for the game. You may have noticed some changes in the new roadmap, one of which is we removed any predicted dates for upcoming releases. Ooh, okay. Secondly, there is a new section at the bottom of the roadmap. These new features, maps, and smaller updates will be pushed live as soon as they are ready without the need for a wait for a major update. Okay, that is fantastic. I've always thought that this game needed to do more smaller updates to give us stuff when it's ready, other than waiting like 3, 4, 5 months for one big update. I think it's better to give the community little things here and there. That way they can enjoy it. And it doesn't feel like there is these very big update gaps where there's just nothing happening, because that makes the game very stale. And that's for any game, really. That happens to any game at all. All right, let's see here. Lastly, you can see that Horror 2.0 will be the last major milestone for the game, and one that takes the game out of early access. That's what we all expected. Horror 2.0 is going to be an update that basically revamps all of the scares for this game. So for a lot of people who played Phasmophobia since the beginning, or maybe even for just a year, you probably noticed that a lot of the jump scares feel very underwhelming. And that just happens with any horror game. The more you play it, the more things you get used to it, and you kind of get desensitized to it. So it makes a lot of sense that they're going to want to try to bring these scares to a higher level graphically and intensely to be able to, kind of captivate what the essence is of a horror game again. Exciting stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and see what we got going on here for these upcoming updates. And I'm going to zoom in here. So we have version 0.9 plus, and this is going to bring lighting overhauls, eye adaptation, screen space, GI, progression rate improvements, item tier adjustments, and shop version 3. So I think this is probably what they mean by they're going to release it as soon as it's ready. So when all of these things are ready, they're going to put it out into the game. I'm hoping. So lighting overhaul, absolutely incredibly needed. You can go inside of prison or any kind of map that's a little bit bigger, and you will notice that there's so many shadowy areas that you can't see very well when you're trying to look for the ghost or anything like that. So I'm going to give you an example. If you have a cell block ghost in prison, if you turn all the lights on, you still can't see that ghost at all. Usually, depending on, where the ghost is, the size of the ghost, the model of the ghost, everything. But it's very difficult to see that ghost's blinking pattern. So if you were doing an insanity run or a no evidence run or a nightmare run, it's very difficult to tell what that ghost is from a perspective of blinking. To showcase some of the lighting issues that I'm discussing, especially with prison, here we are. We're in a cell block in prison right now, and every single light in this cell block is on. And still, you can barely see the end of that prison cell block down there. And if I have a flashlight, great, I can see a little bit. But you know what? During ghost hunts, your flashlight's going to blink. So you're not going to be able to see that much. You're going to rely on natural lighting, which you really don't have. There are too many dark corners. It's just too dark. So they definitely need to be able to revamp this with the lighting update and lighting changes. So I really hope that the lighting changes do bring a lot of changes to the game, because I'm sure we've all had an instance where we go into a house and you look at the front door and all you see is the abyss. There's nothing there. It's just a sea of blackness. That shouldn't be. That shouldn't be happening in a game like this. So I hope that it brings all those changes we need for it to have. Screen space GI is definitely very exciting. I noticed that there is definitely some sort of a screen space issue happening, especially when you use the night vision goggles. It's narrowing your field of focus. I don't know if that's going to be covered in that particular segment or not, but I really hope that it is. There's definitely, I think, some changes that can happen there to make everything better, especially from a UI perspective when you're in the interface. Progression rate improvements, something we've all been asking for a very long time. There just doesn't feel like a need to want to prestige. What is the purpose of hitting that next prestige marker other than getting a new ID badge and a new color to your ID card. Like, yeah, those things are great, but does it really make up for the time that you spent playing the game in order to prestige? Probably not. So hopefully they've had so much feedback come in their official Discord, on Reddit, in the community hub, everywhere. So hopefully they took that to heart and they started implementing some of those things, because I think there's a lot of things they could do to reward their players when they prestige. Item tier adjustments. This is another big one. I could definitely say for sure that tier one, I could definitely say for sure that tier 1 thermometer is king. Tier 2 thermometer is very inconsistent and it takes way too long to get a temperature reading. Tier 3 thermometer is very inconsistent, a little bit faster to get a temperature reading holding that right click, but still just not as consistent as a tier 1. Almost everybody I watch play uses tier 1 thermometer, and that's a problem. That's not how it should be. I mean, look how long it takes to get a temperature reading with this tier 3 thermometer. Like, I'm being put on hold here. This is insane. Gotta hold down that right click button for several seconds to get one temperature reading. It's just not worth the trouble to use it. So I hope that they do fix this for the better. Also, tier 1 dots, absolutely awful. There's no new player to this game that I ever encounter that's like, I like this piece of equipment. They're like, I can't figure out how to get dots. And I wish there was a better way for me to tell them to get dots, but it's really difficult. It can be really difficult to see because you're getting such a small projected area with dots, and you really have to get lucky and hope that you're pointing in the right spot. So I'd like to see some changes to the items for sure. And then obviously the shop, we all know that the current shop UI is not user-friendly. And probably for many of us, we just put on auto buy and auto add and we leave it at that. We never want to see it again. We never want to fuss with it after we create our loadout. Auto add, auto buy, you're done. So hopefully they make it a little bit more user-friendly, especially for those new players who are going to be coming out with console potentially soon. All right, the next one, new tasks, new optionals, reward changes, photo overhaul, video evidence, new equipment. I'm really not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one. Obviously, it's great to have new optionals and new tasks. They make the game feel fresh. It makes it feel like every single round is a little bit different and new and exciting. So I love that kind of stuff. New photo evidence, and video evidence, and new equipment, sound recorders, awesome. The sound recorders gives me the vibe of Conrad Stevens' Paranormal PI and Phylacterion. Both of those games have recorder evidence, and I do find it to be very cool. It's kind of like getting Spirit Box recording something and seeing if you get a paranormal sound to play back. And I hope it's kind of something like that. I think that'd be super cool. You have a recorder down in the room, you pick it up, you listen back to it, and it sounds like some demonic sound coming out of it. That would be pretty exciting. And then, obviously, the photo overhaul is so needed at this point. Tell me right now, has anybody ever been in a situation where you go to take a photo of something? Let's say it's a door touch, a door interaction. You take a photo of that door, and somehow it registers the bone halfway across the house, and it says, bone, 1-star photo, and you totally ruined your perfect game. That is what needs to be fixed in this photo overhaul. It needs to fix the photo priority system to actually register what we're trying to take photos of. All right. 0.11 plus. New player models, new player animations, CCTV overhaul, player customizations. Player customizations have been something they've talked about for so long, and I can't wait until they're finally here. I think it's going to be so cool to not have to play as the player model that are base, that are already in the game. Those are cool. You know, it's going to be a little bit weird to have them gone because it is so nostalgic, but I am excited to be able to create my own character that maybe kind of looks like me, which kind of adds a whole little bit of flavor to the game. Now, the one thing I want to be able to mention here, and this is something I've noticed that has been talked about in some of the developers' personal Twitch streams, is the player animations, the player model changes. They want to take out the opportunity for to do some of the weird quirky things you see your character do in game that we all know and love, and it looks weird. For instance, the fact that your character can bend its back all the way back and it looks like its spine is broken. They want to take that out of the game, and I don't think they really realize how angry people are going to be if they take that out of the game. It's part of the game. That quirkiness, that bugginess, that weird thing is part of the game's culture now, and I don't think it can be taken away, at least not without a lot of pushback. So hopefully they don't decide to do that. I love those weird things about the game. I think it's one of the many things that's made me fall in love with Phasmophobia in the first place. And last but not least, 1.0, when the game comes out of early access, obviously, Horror 2.0, new ghost models, hunt overhaul, hallucinations, event overhaul, new interactions, and much, much more. Everything that's going to make this game scary again and make it feel like it is more of a horror game, which I cannot wait for. Because I must say, sometimes when you're looking at the ghost hunts these days, it's like, it doesn't really have any leg movements. It doesn't look like it's walking. It's just kind of hovering above the ground like it's, I don't know, like it's on like a hoverboard or something. It looks really weird. And I know that's part of the Unity engine, so there's not a whole lot that can be done about that, but well, maybe they could do something about it. It would be so cool to see like actual footsteps on the ghost and seeing the ghost actually have like animated movements and stuff, making it feel more alive, more real, more in the moment, intense. That's what I want. That's what I want. That's what I need. All right. Obviously, all this stuff is releasing when it's ready, so we don't have any timelines, which really, really stinks. But to be honest, I would rather them not give us any timelines and not be able to meet the deadlines, because then we would all just feel let down. So honestly, I think I know it looks weird to have 4 question marks here, but I think I'd rather have that than being uncertain. All right. Console update. All right, this is something we need, because there has been no talk on the console front now for way too long. Way, way too long. And obviously, they're basically saying here in this segment, I'm not going to read all of it, but they're basically saying that it's going to be ready when it's going to be ready. And I think that's what we all assumed at this point, is obviously there's been a lot of obstacles that are happening with this console release, and they are a very small development team, so I do understand some of those things, but I really wish that this would get done sooner rather than later. Hopefully it is on the horizon. We can only hope for the best. But one thing that I noticed here, and I'm going to try to find it real quick, is on the other hand, with the delays come extra changes for console players on day one. The new improved upcoming shop experience, the upcoming adjustments to leveling and equipment tiers, all will be on the console release from day one for those console players. So there is definitely a silver lining there, and I'm glad they mentioned this, because it's something that doesn't come to our minds when we think about a delay, is that more than likely this whole first update here with the lighting changes and the progression changes and the equipment changes and the shop changes, that'll all be available for console players on day one. And I love that. I really do. I think that is something that's needed. There's no point in putting a console release out there and then doing a bunch of small updates afterwards. And to be honest, usually Microsoft and Sony won't let you do that many small updates after you release on a console. It kind of has to be that one big patch that has everything inside of it, so you don't update the game too often. So, definitely much harder to push out an update to a console game than it is to put out an update to a PC game, especially one that's in early access on Steam. So we got to keep that in mind. Point Hope. Point Hope was teased to us about a year ago. If you didn't do the Easter egg, I'll show it to you right now. If you remember, when you log into the lobby, you can see this little flashlight, this UV light shining at this arrow right there. When you pick it up, you see that it's pointing towards this way. Obviously, right now, the snowman's in the way of one of these symbols, but you can see this one over here. These symbols, when you went ahead and you deciphered what they meant with the clues that are on all the different maps, it spelt out Point Hope, letting us know that the next map was going to be Point Hope. Then, when they went ahead and revamped Maple Lodge Campsite, you were able to get another glimpse into what Point Hope meant by going inside of the reception area and looking at this map right here. And when you look at the map, if you look in the top right corner, you notice that it says Point Hope Lighthouse. So that is what we knew, that Point Hope was not only a map, but it was a lighthouse map. So that was confirmed. Okay. Going back over here to the roadmap, you can see that it was said that they were hoping the lighthouse was going to come out sooner, but hiring our first concept artist, Zek, thought it was best to spend a little extra time making sure that the unique look was extra special. So CJ and Skinner, two of the developers and the artists, have been working on this map, and hopefully with some of the updates we see here, some of the teases, hopefully we are going to be getting this map relatively soon. Hopefully maybe sometime in Q1 of 2024, but maybe Q2. But hopefully, I definitely hope it's within that first half of the year. Because if they have these kind of teasers out with this much detail and we can see all this stuff, this tells me that it's at least in the second half of its creation stage. So I hope that it's definitely on its way here sooner rather than later, because it's been a very, very long time since we had a new map in Phasmophobia. And this is not their only map teaser here. Scrolling on further down, they are planning to rework the farmhouses. And again, not going to read everything here, but their idea is that Grafton, the smaller farmhouse, has been seeing better days in the new design. Floors, ceilings, and windows collapse, furniture broken or covered in sheets ready to be packed in dust by the cobwebs covering every nook and cranny. So Grafton is going to be a farmhouse that is going to be very run down, very broken down. It really has that horror abandoned house vibe. Meanwhile, Bleasdale will receive the opposite treatment. As it is such a large building, we wanted to nudge it closer to the Grand Mansion style house it had once been. Room will be ornate, cluttered with statues and expensive belongings. So Grafton is going to be a very rundown building that's probably abandoned, and Bleasdale is probably going to be more of an upscale farmhouse you would find if you rented like an Airbnb or something. So definitely, I think that they're trying to make it so these two farmhouses don't look as similar and have very different vibes and landscapes. Now, if I could just put my 2 cents here for a second, and I don't know if this is going to be well received or not. I don't know if people agree or not, but I personally would much rather see new maps over reworked old maps. But having said that, I do understand that if they're going to release this game and it's going to come out of early access, they want every map they already have to feel unique and well done. So I do understand that they want to go back and fix what they already have before creating new problems. I totally get it. So on one hand, I want more maps because I'm eager, but I also understand why they're doing this. All right. Lastly, the attic has had quite the overhaul. The staircase has been moved and the room itself has been split into 2 parts. The first half of the attic is storage, crammed to the brim with barely stable boxes, old furniture, and dusty memories. The second half has been inhabited by the couple's granddaughter, a girl that loves the unknown. Wait, what? Okay, all right, that's weird. All right, so I'm assuming this is talking about Bleasdale Attic. If everybody knows Bleasdale, the attic ghost sucks. The attic is a massive, massive room. Very difficult to get ghost writing, difficult to get dots because it's just such a big area for the ghost to roam. So this is saying that they're going to split the Bleasdale attic up into 2 separate rooms. That way it's easier to get evidence and easier to manage, which seems super cool, honestly. So I like that a lot, I do. The first update from the roadmap will be next week, when we remove the holiday event, and will include the lighting changes, new eye adaptation, and screen space global illumination settings. Yes, let's go. So the very next update is going to be next week with some lighting changes, some eye changes, and some screen space changes as well. Very exciting stuff. I cannot wait to see the new lighting changes. It's something we've needed for so long. After reading the roadmap, I'm definitely feeling pretty optimistic about the game this year. Obviously, 2023 had very far and few updates. We had the Ascension update. Before that, it was such a long time before we had any updates at all. And then we had a pretty big gap of time as well between now and the Ascension update. We had the Halloween event, we had the Christmas event, but really, those really weren't updates. Those were just kind of like little events to kind of like just buy us some time. So I'm definitely very excited to see all these things, but I'm going to add one more thing that I have not noticed or mentioned anywhere on this list that I'm sure is on the minds of a couple people, and I know it's definitely on the minds of the people that are inside my community and inside of the people I play with that play Phasmophobia. Where are the bug fixes? I have not seen anything mentioned on here about bug fixes in the game. There's a lot of problems with ghost behavior not being very consistent, and things just not working the way they're intended. And yeah, sure, maybe they're probably one-off problems that don't happen that often and probably hard to replicate, but they do need to be addressed. So I hope that somewhere in these updates that we're going to get this year and into the beyond of next year, 2025, they do address some of these big hotfix updates and bug fixes, because I think it is really making it so some people don't want to play the game. I know they have a bug list right now in their official Phasmo Discord of things they are working on that they do update as people report problems. So hopefully that is all going to be getting addressed. So I hope you found this video useful. Please feel free to comment below with your thoughts, your ideas, everything. I want to hear it all. Thank you so much again for your time. And again, happy 2024, everybody. Until I see you next time, stay crispy.